What is up, guys? You know what it is. Another Friday, another live stream. Same old, same old. A lot of fun stuff going on this week. We're going to let some people filter in. We got some turbo talk going on, going crazy with it. So let's let some people get in here. And we'll have fun together forever. I just want to start out, let y'all know, and I bet you didn't know, check out this super, super cool epic Hellcat motor that could be powering your jalopy. It ain't that expensive. It ain't that used. It ain't a bad deal. And tax time's coming around, so it ain't going to hurt the pockets too much. And you can just tell your wife, we didn't get a tax return. You're spending on a motor. That'd be cool. What would be even more cool is a turbo Chrysler 300 SRT8. Very fun. This one, turbo kit coming off, going to a Edelbrock 2650 supercharger. Just going back, normal exhaust setup. Let the O2's O2 and let the, car get registered again, which would be nice. It's nice to be able to drive a car, They look good sitting in the garage, but driving the car, more fun, more better. It's a little loud in here. Matt's doing a detail. He's doing his thing. Let's go bother Dan, see what he's up to. What up, Dan?
What's up?
He's cleaning or something. What are you doing, Dan? Whoa! Look at that. That is what the inside... Is this a 2.4 or a 2.7? It's a 2.4. Yes, sir. It came off a Jeep. I should know that. This is what the inside of these things looks like. Quite fascinating. So, if you've never seen one... The rotors. Where are the rotors? Oh. Look at that. Golly. So, these are what spin. These are your little bearings that explode. Just kidding. So, sorry, I'm kind of distracted. They're kind of heavy, honestly. They're probably about, I don't know. I'm bad with guessing, but they feel like maybe 5 pounds, 10 pounds a pop. But your dang motor got to spin that. So we get rid of it. This Jeep is a turbo application, so it should free up some horsepowers. Yep. How about that, Dan? Yep. When you going turbo?
Not for a while.
What side's your transfer case on, or your front diff?
306?
No, on your all-wheel drive Charger, your front diff, what side is it on? Left or right?
It's on the passenger side.
Turbo kit can happen. That would be cool. That'd be so cool for Dan. Speaking of turbo kits, what up, Chris? CJ is out driving your Jeep right now. We are putting a long test in here, and then she should be going back to you. Speaking of turbo kits, my turbo kit's done. Thank God. Oh my God. Trying to maneuver myself. Finally done. Look at that. There's something cool. Don't look at the fact that there's no wiring or anything. That's not important. But what is important is the turbo kit is on. Thank the Lord. I dragged my feet a little bit too much. What I didn't drag my feet on, HP Tuner's box. Now that this is done, we can... I'm sorry, I'm a little messy. We can put the core in there. Oh, baby. So this is going in very, very soon once that 300 is done. This is going in. I'm going to be doing the install. I might go live on TikTok for those of you that didn't delete it, and we'll put this sucker in there. But we're going to have all of the cool features. This is way too nice for this car. Shout out my boys, HP Tuners, Jeremy, everyone. We're going to learn a lot with this thing. That thing, all of us together. It's just a little educational hour for everyone involved. We're going to make stuff go fast that has no business going fast. Let's go see what Arturo's up to. Actually, I think he's mid-IGLA install, so I don't think I'm going to show you what's up with Arturo because I don't want to, because you don't need to see it. What you do need to see is a Jeep on the dyno, baby. Jeep on the dyno, level 3. Upper, lower, True Flex fuel, ported blower from our boy at Kong. 108 mil throttle body, the big old son of a gun. Our beautiful catch can. Look at that. Oh, baby. You need one. If you don't have one, we have some on the shelf. We can get them shipped to you. So definitely get one. Even if your car's stock, there are benefits to be had. The more miles, I think the more important it is. But get one. So, doing a little exhaust leaky testy. These are the internally wastegated. If you can even see it, because it's a little bit dark. Can I put my flat? Oh, that's cool. Internally wastegated, gang. So, these are the little Jeepy Jeeps. And that's how they do it. So, if you've never seen it, now you have. I figured I'd show you because we're doing a little turbo talk. Dan! I heard Dan is selling his blower and going turbo. Okay, well, you definitely should. All right, well, at some point, Dan will man up and we'll be here together. But for now, he's saying blower, so. So cool, dude. I love turbos. Let's take a look at this Jeep real quick. And then hopefully Jeremy comes out at some point to talk about something. It's kind of loud. I'm sorry, y'all. So, inside, outside wash, engine bay wash, the whole 9 yards. This one's been a long build, a lot of parts, a lot coming together to make it happen. So, we're gonna gotta keep her clean, you know. We gotta keep her clean. Let me double check. Let me go get my boy Jeremy because he wanted to talk about something. Jeremy, it's time to talk.
Let's go!
You're probably gonna... What?
Where's the mount? You're literally holding your fingers around it. What am I supposed to do with that?
You can hold your fingers around it.
Go get me the... What's going on, everybody? So, you know, we talk about turbos all the time, right? So I figured this would be a good one, a good episode. What's up, Mike?
Wind show up for the car you guys are gonna wrap?
I got no wind.
I don't got a wing either. I'm tracking on it. Where's your wing?
Yeah, we're live. Say hi.
Oh my god.
Your hair's okay. Don't worry. It's good.
Wait. Before.
Yeah. Oh, look. Thanks. The tripod. All right. So, back on subject here. As you know, we get sidetracked very easily. So, we decided, we talk about turbos all the time. The reason why we're jumping into it again this week is we have been seeing more and more people are taking the jump, which is outstanding. We are excited to see that. At Legion of Demons, you saw the turbo cars really starting to speed up, and that's what we're talking about, right? Now, why are we doing another subject on this? It's that time. People are starting to, get their tax returns. They're, thinking about what their next upgrade is. Cars have been out a while, and guys are tired of their tapped out stock blowers. So we're seeing stuff like this happen. There's a little baby turbo, right? So I'm sitting under a Trackhawk right now. So right behind me here, there's another one you guys saw. That was the video we posted where it made 4 digits. That's essentially a stock red eye basically that put a helium on it and made over 1,000 to the wheels. You saw me post the dyno sheet of literally how I was sitting in the driver's seat and then able to change the boost levels, right? One of the pros to it. Now, this kind of goes 2 ways, right? One, they're beneficial. So when we get into the office, we'll sit down and we'll talk about it, right? 2, of course, you would start that one. The other reason we want to talk about this is you can't just bolt the turbo on and then expect it to work, okay? So I want to kind of point that out that, it's not all created equal. So we'll dive more into the blue one that's behind me, and then this is kind of the same thing. So the 2 vehicles I'm standing under and next to were sent to me from other shops in which, the work was done and, people were expecting some type of result. And then after they got them back, it wasn't quite the same. Some waited a long, long time to get them back, almost 500 days on this one. And this is going to show you that, the experience that some shops have is different than others. And we have compound boosted cars, or the Hellcat specifically, before anybody. We did the first gutted blowers. So, as you see, I'm sure you saw Danny's gutting the blower there. So we've done it time and time again. We know what you need to look out for, right? So I'm going to flip it around because it's just, simple to look at, nice and pretty. Have our Billet Evolution race can there for those that have a turbo setup and want to see how to set it up. There you go. So I'm going to talk about this one to give you guys a perfect example of why not all turbos and turbo shops or facilities are created equal, okay? So this poor car is simply a Helion compound boosted setup, the same exact way we normally do ours, and the basic fueling upgrades. That's it. That's it. This specific car was out of the customer's possession for almost 500 days. Okay. Now, what they were running into is during their dyno sessions, during their tuning sessions, Zedong, outstanding tuner, I didn't tune this car, so that 1,000, I didn't tune it. What we did is jumped in to help out. Okay. So, what we have here is basically what we found out is there was a couple vacuum leaks up on the top end portion, okay? And we found out underneath almost every exhaust connection was leaking. So what these things will do is it will increase the demand and the effort that the turbo is putting in, okay? So on a compound boost setup particularly, we are using the supercharger and the turbos to create the boost that we're trying to hit, okay? So, when you have, what we found on this one is they put the wrong size supercharger belt on it, okay? So when you put the wrong size supercharger belt on it, it will slip. So now the turbos need to do more work. The more boost created pre-rotor, the higher your air charge temperatures are going to be. Why? So, right here in this pipe, it pumps heat, guys. All right, the turbo's compressing air pumps heat. That's why there's intercoolers on cars, right? So that is technically pre-intercooled boosted air inside. So normally it would only take, 4, maybe 5 pounds of boost. Okay, so what will happen when that belt is slipping? The turbos have to introduce more. So the pre-rotor. Okay, pre-rotor temps are going to go up. So what that means is now the supercharger is compressing hotter air. Okay, so the fact that this is compressing hotter air, 200 degrees plus, the air going in is 200 degrees plus, it now is getting compressed, and then it's going to get even hotter after it gets compressed by the blower. So now the intercooler itself is going to have to work extra hard to get the temperatures out of it. On top of it, the exhaust leaks, okay? So turbos rely on exhaust pressure to spin the wheels. So now we have a supercharger that's slipping and a boost controller in place that's trying to hit a desired boost level. It's going to require a lot hotter temps in regards to the exhaust side. On top of it, you are going to also get lean conditions, okay? So when it comes to that, we have a couple things in place that were creating a ton of issues. So what happened on this one is Zedong was reporting to the previous shop that there were very high air charge temps, okay? So, with very high air charge temps, you want to pull timing out to keep it safe. So, with the proper tune in place, this car was not making power on the dyno. And that was very disappointing when it was making essentially stock, red-eye dyno numbers after you put some turbos on it. So it was finally sent to us. We found all of these things. Threw it on the dyno, and on the wastegate tune, it made 830 to the wheels with the conservative tune that Zedong had in there. So going back and forth with him, we did some remote tuning, got it to where it made over 1,000 wheel. So this car was out of the customer's possession for almost 500 days, and it turned out that it was just improperly installed, and there were a couple little details that were missed, right? So very similar to the Trackhawk, we're starting to find very minor things in regards to things that weren't installed correctly. So, when we originally requested them to come in, we're hoping for it to be something little. Turns out to be more, but the good news is we are able to find those things. So this is why shops, just because you throw a turbo onto a car doesn't mean it's going to perform. So we'll get out of the elements and get into the shop now, or get into the office so we can sit down and do our questions, have those turbo questions ready. Hey, Jamie, I know you got the message from my lawyer. We'll see you in court, my friend. All right, let's get it there.
Oh.
All right. Give me 1 sec, go ahead and get set up.
What? Oh, fact. I got some good questions this time. They're in front of us. I figured, we should up the production quality a bit and have it ready. So, we got a whole bunch of fun stuff. NA questions, supercharged questions. If you guys have any questions, drop those. He's doing his own thing. What are you guys up to today? What up, J-Dog?
What up, dog?
Got getting his big old computer. Do I bring up my normal for you? No, Jeff, don't bring that question up. I swear to God, that is a great way to get kicked. So, we are live. Mr.
All
Harris.
right.
Are you ready?
Set up. I am ready. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
All right.
All right, let's dive in. So, recap for those that are just joining right now. We were talking about differences in turbos and where you might take it. Just because you put a turbo on a car doesn't mean it's going to perform or give you what you're expecting out of it, right? So it's one of those things, guys. What we recapped out there is that we had a car that we know should make 1,000 to 1,050 wheel, and then it's one of those where, and all we had to do was fix the minor little details, and then it worked. It made the 1,000 that it was supposed to make, and everything was in place the way it was supposed to be. So turbos, we'll have some turbo specific questions, I'm sure, but we'll dive right into some of the the questions that people asked us to ask first. So why don't you kick it off, Tulo?
Red Eyes. Is it safe for me to run a 285 upper with a cam on my Red Eye on 93 octane?
For a red eye. So
yes.
Could you run a 285 or 28 something pulley on a red eye on pump gas? Mm-hmm. The answer is no, unless you are at high altitude, and here's the reason why. So red eyes from the factory have the 2.7 blower. The pulley on the upper and lower is the same as a 2.4. The red eyes being a 2.7 liter, they make more boost naturally because of the bigger rotor at the same rotor speed as the 2.4. So from the factory, a red eye makes roughly 14 to 15 pounds of boost already. So you don't want to go to a 285, which would add roughly 4 to 5 pounds of boost, because that will put you at 18, 19 pounds on pump gas. It's way too much. Way too much.
I mean, even with a cam.
A cam, it might work depending on if you do headers in a cam.
That's true.
So it's when you do headers in a cam, it improves the efficiency, allowing you to bleed off some of that boost, right, and just making the engine work easier. So again, depending on altitude, it's very possible to go to that. So normally for our level 1s for red eyes, 2.7 blower equipped vehicles, we go from the factory 3.3 to a 3.1, our 3.10. That adds roughly 1.5 pounds of boost, and then that gives you to that 15, 16 PSI range, where at 9.5 compression on the stock motor setup the way it is, we get the results that we're looking for. This is something I talk about too, just to kind of clarify. Boost doesn't blow a motor up. Understand that. In theory, you could pump 30 pounds of boost into a motor and it's not going to blow up. Cylinder pressure is truly what ends up being the enemy, and what we're doing when we increase torque is increasing cylinder pressure, right? Now, where our limiting factors come in is mainly the octane fuel that we're running, and this is why we talk about 91, 93 pump gas, because that is our battle for detonation. Right there is what the octane is. So it's one of those, 30 pounds of boost, you're going to have to run negative 10 degrees of timing to prevent detonation, right? The problem too, and this is the thing with people who are like, oh, I know guys out there that will run, 18, 19 pounds of boost on pump gas. To do that safely, to battle detonation, you're going to have to reduce your timing so far down to the point that, for those that don't know, if you run retarded timing and you start getting into the negatives or even very low single digits, take a look at your exhaust manifolds. It is very, very possible that you're going to see them glowing red after some abuse, okay? So that's one of those things where you want to be careful, because what you're doing is increasing the temperature in the exhaust, which then will backfeed into the head, the exhaust valves, cook everything, and it's just not beneficial. So to find that threshold of where your detonation is going to occur or your octane limiting factor, just increasing the boost, that's why we limit it where we do, guys. A 9.5-1 compression motor with the type of rods, pistons that are in place in the cam and head profile. It's just what we learn over the years in the testing, right? Have guys run more? Absolutely. Have they blown up? You know it. And this is just comes from the experience to make sure that you can have longevity out of it. So no, could you, should you? It would be no, you should not, could not, you shouldn't do that unless, like Tula mentioned, you have an aggressive cam, 2-inch headers on it, very free flowing, and then you have higher altitude too. That's where the variables come into play. But it's just too aggressive. It's too much boost on pump gas. So don't do it. It's you. And the truth is, I've seen guys that I won't use names of the big shop that people know of that normally throw 18, 19 pounds on pump gas. But when you throw them on the dyno, they end up making less power than if they had the proper 310 upper. Or maintaining lower boost levels because of the timing that they can run with the MBT and the threshold of the fuel that's being run. So boost doesn't always make horsepower, guys. Boost is not what blows things up. It's cylinder pressure and torque, and that comes from the combination of what you're building, okay? And it's just your essentially the amount of timing that you add in as boost increases, right? You can see more horsepower or increase in cylinder pressure per degree of timing as the boost levels increase because there's more air. And that's why it compounds into the deadly factor that it is. So, yeah, don't do that. Mm-hmm. Definitely don't do that.
Next question. Could you, should you? This is kind of a multiple question all in one. If you have a VVT cam, does it hurt it if you limit it or lock it? And vice versa, if you have a lockout cam, does it hurt if you only limit it or don't lock it out?
Good question. So it's kind of compounded. Mm-hmm. So first we'll start about VVT and what is it. So basically, to simplify it for those, normally on old school setups without varying valve timing or VVT, the cam and the crank, they rotate in sync, right? And the cam being smaller versus the crank being bigger, they have their own steps. Now with VVT, I can change the degree of the cam as we can, as RPM changes or however you command it. So most modern Hemis right now, minus, all the modern Hemis, basically the Gen 3s for the most part, 2010 and newer, have VVT in them. So it's very beneficial. And why do you want VVT? Where are the benefits of VVT? Well, what it allows you to do is change the cam profile to a point where you can optimize low to mid-range power. And as RPM increases, you can alternate the cam profile essentially and optimize peak horsepower. So 392s are a great one for this, because they not only have VVT from the factory, but they have their short runner valves, which also adjust the runner length, which these two things as well can change when and how airflow benefits the engine. So that's why you see 392s making a massive amount of torque, right? And a very high horsepower compared to some of their competitors like the GMs and the Fords, because they really optimize that from the factory. So now you're going to throw in an aftermarket cam. What do? So things we have to understand on these Gen 3 Hemis, they are interference motors, which means that if timing is off to a certain extent, the piston can make contact with the valve. So that's very scary when you're talking that you can change that episode of when those valves are actually opening and closing. So generally there's two types of cams that are available. You have your VVT specific cams and then your non-VVT cams. So all of the cams that we provide, for example, are non-VVT based. Why? Because we want to optimize the performance. That's really what we're going for. So we understand most of the time on a modified vehicle, we are going to be increasing horsepower, torque, all across the board. So our profiles are slightly designed where we understand we're going to sacrifice a little bit of that low range power, and we want to gain more at the higher RPM range, where from a performance perspective, you're going to utilize that power more, okay? So, on ours, you lock them out. And the reason for that is with the combination of the duration and the lift and the episodes of where they're happening, if we were to have VVT variable, it is possible that the piston can make contact with the valve. That's why it allows for a little bit more of an aggressive profile, because we can lock out those episodes of the cam, okay? On VVT specific cams, you are going to have a limiter normally put in place, and they also can't necessarily be as aggressive as a locked out cam because they still can move. So this is taken into consideration when the limiter is put into place, so that way it limits the overall movement that you can gain out of your camshaft to help prevent piston to valve contact, and that's purely what it's in place for. So we are bringing this up because we had a customer that grudge race car, so I can't give much information on it, but it was a proper built motor in a supercharged setup. As I'm doing the dyno pulls, what I'm seeing is at about 5,000 RPM, I start seeing the boost on it increase, okay? Now, naturally, most think, hey, boost is going up, this thing is getting more airflow, it's going to create more power, right? It is actually the exact opposite in this situation. So what happened is this boost went up, the airflow ratings actually went down, and it actually started getting extremely rich, so I had to make an adjustment in the tune for it. Turns out, I did my test on it, and the cam was locked out. And what that's telling me is most likely I don't know the cam, customer didn't know the cam, but from what I've seen before, my guess is this is a VVT style cam that somebody put a lockout on. I attempted to move it with my VVT settings, and it didn't work. So we had to, it's one of those where I know I verified that it's locked out, and this vehicle, it probably would gain, I would say, 30 to 40 horsepower on the big end after 5,500 RPM if I had the ability to move the cam based on how it's designed. So, that's the importance of understanding the difference between the two. So, VVT cams naturally can't be as aggressive as a locked out cam, just because there's always going to be that variable of that piston to valve clearance there. We've gone to the guys out there, engine builders, things like that, we actually have gone in with Play-Doh, put it on top of a piston, put a head on. That's how we measured our cams, okay? So where was that locked out cam? What do you mean? I can't say what car it was in, like I said, it's a grudge car, but I do know it was a VVT cam. So, but yeah, we get our cam profiles because we test that piston to valve tolerance. We verify how much lift we can get, and it's kind of the combination. So the VVT has its place. It's very beneficial for a lot of setups, especially like I said, if you pair it up to an intake that has a short runner valve put in it, it allows you to really compound the benefits of both. There is a point where you have to make sure you have it set up correctly. The other thing too, for those that put a VVT cam in, make sure you inform your tuner if it's locked out or not as well.
It's important.
The amount of times I've seen tuners just disable VVT when they see that there's a cam put in place, and then I'm looking at it and seeing these characteristics, enable VVT and then make the necessary adjustments to gain power. It's crazy how the standard out of the gate, and you can tell there's people that don't truly understand the benefits of VVT for it. So,
what degree exhaust lobe center line? Where was it installed?
I don't know. I don't know where it was installed.
Yeah.
Again, we didn't install it. I'm just tuning the vehicle, so I can't see any of that. It's just it's pegged and locked out, so there is no movement whatsoever. It was one of those. Buddy did the install. Buddy did this. I have zero cam specs in any way, shape, or form. I just know that it was a supercharged built motor, and that's literally the information that I was given. So I don't have that answer for you. I don't know exactly where it was at. Okay, so. Yeah, I mean that's on that one. I know where you're getting at on that one, but I have no way of telling you actually what it is. Okay, so that's the importance, though. I've seen a lot of tuners disable VVT, even though there are benefits to having VVT in place. So
why does no one? Oh, he was saying, why does no one centerline cams anymore?
That's a great question. I don't know why you wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't understand what you mean nobody is. I don't have an answer for you. I don't know. I think he's missing the point on that one.
Perchance.
Yeah.
Could you, should you? I'm getting my car tuned. RPM means power, right? Can I tell my tuner just keep giving me a more RPM on my shift point, and will I make more power from it? Is there a reason why my tuner sets my shift point at 6,400?
Yeah, so if everybody knows that technically a dyno reads torque, okay? So horsepower is purely a math equation. And generally, you find that horsepower is, hey, we got a guess. What you got for us?
Belt! Stock
Sweet,
belt.
parts. Awesome, thank you.
How's it going?
Whoops.
I got
So-
pump faked.
RPM. You're going to have higher horsepower at a higher RPM naturally. It's the way the valve train's set up, the heads, cam, profile. This is going to determine where horsepower will go or how far it will go. Horsepower, in most cases, always fall off at some point, okay? So there's a ton of variables that go into determining that, right? And that's the beauty of a dyno. It's a tool that allows us to measure that type of output, right? So I get guys all the time, hey, can you take my rev limiter off? I want to shift it to 7,000 RPM, right? Let's say an Eagle 5.7. I've had a guy ask me if I could have it shift at 7,000 RPM. Well, man, just let you know, power starts falling off after 5,600, 5,800 RPM. So why are you going to rev it out another 1,200 RPM when, peak horsepower and peak torque is way further down, right? There is a limit on RPM. Again, this is where, cam profile, figuring out your setup for your valve train to determine what you're actually going to shift at. We built a while ago a 411 that we wanted to rev to 8,000 RPM. We did. We took it to 8,000. The limiter built into the PCM, I couldn't go any further, was 8,100, and we smacked that on the dyno several times. We built the cam, we built the valve train, we built everything about it to rev there. Right? So in that particular application, it was pulling power until 7,500, 7,600 RPM. So, naturally, for that, yeah, it could and might want to rev it out. Bill with the yellow one, same thing. The cam, we kind of spec'd it around having a 7,500 RPM shift, right? So the cam profile is going to shift where that peak power is. So if we were to change the head's cam profile, and have peak power from 5,500 to 7,000, naturally it's not going to make it. So that's where it really comes into play that having everything kind of together is so important. So no, RPM doesn't always end up meaning that you're going to make more horsepower, okay? Yes, horsepower happens at a higher RPM in most scenarios compared to peak torque because of the airflow characteristics, but revving the piss out of it isn't always beneficial. There's way more stress with higher RPM, both on the bottom end and the top end. So you really have to reinforce. Balancing is crucial, right? And that's why big V8 displaced setups don't necessarily rev there, right? I mean, my shop car that as we know made 1,500 wheel, went 850s with ease. I shifted that thing at 65, 60, 600. I mean, there was really no reason to rev it out past that. Why? The head's cam profile and everything we had in place, there was no reason to do so. And the truth is, yeah, if I were to smack that thing to 7,500, it's not going to live as long. So race car specific, and you design it for that, absolutely. I know these Ford guys are revving to 20,000 RPM, and some of the GMs are going to, 10,000, but you have to look at their dyno sheets and the head's cam profiles that they're putting into place. It goes a long way. So, stock valve springs will in fact take 7,000 RPM, not too well, but they do. The older generation, it does depend on the vehicle you're talking about, because I rev 392s to 7,000 all the time with no issues. Hellcats did struggle a little bit more with them, especially in the earlier versions. The newer versions, they are slightly better, but again, the only reason you want to rev a stock bottom end 392 is, if you swap it out a little bit. So it's one of those things where it's all specific, guys. And what Don's talking about, you have to be aware of at RPM is valve float as well. So, if you don't have a spring system in place to support, the RPMs that you're going to be taking it to, you could see valve float, in which it could negatively impact the output as well. So, yes, exactly. It could have an issue with that. again, RPM doesn't always equate out to more power or improved performance. Okay, sometimes it really comes down to that beauty again of a dyno sheet is being able to set it up based on where you see the peak horsepower and peak torque and optimizing the full power band. That's why dyno sheets with the peak number, are what sell product. But the truth is, one of the big differences, back when the Demon first came out and the Red Eyes, if you actually looked at a lot of the dyno sheets when they were stock, you would see Hellcats have a little more of an incline in regards to... Another guest, how you doing?
Hello.
I think these are for you here.
Yes.
There we go, thank you.
Thank you.
Hellcats had, base Hellcats, you would see more of a straight line in regards to horsepower, where on the Red Eyes, you notice they kind of flatlined a little more. Now, what we saw is they would get to kind of peak horsepower quicker or that range, and then they would just kind of flatline across, and that's great, okay? It's not always sometimes about, that little peak. So, okay, a stock Hellcat cam might make an extra 10 horsepower in a given combination peak, but if you look at how much earlier Red Eye cam gets to that, reduced 10 horsepower and stays flat there, that's really where the benefit comes into play. So it's not always about the peak, everybody. It's about the overall power band and utilizing it for your setup from start to finish. So, yeah.
Noise. Following that question up with,
Yeah.
Could you, should you? I have a Hellcat, I want cam. Should I throw a Red Eye cam in it, or should I get a custom spec Satera tuning, custom Hellcat cam?
Yeah. So I see that all the time. Now, I will say, is the Red Eye cam superior to the base Hellcat? Yes. They refined it a little bit more. Do I think if you're going to go through all of that trouble, it's a worthwhile upgrade? No, I don't. I think if you are going to go in, take it all apart, and go through that amount of labor, regardless if you're doing it yourself or not, yeah, man, I strongly recommend to, have you, do a proper cam. Like we said, our cams, we have proven results where, you gain 20, 30 horse right out of the gate with over a 2-pound boost drop, right? And then you can increase the boost back up to pick up even more. So, yeah, it's one of those where I don't see it. Same thing like the 5.7 guys throwing 392 cams in. It's not a lot of work, a lot of time
For 5 horsepower.
for not even 5 horsepower. You know what I mean?
Which sounds good.
Yeah. So like I said, if you're going to go through that work, I would.
Just do it right. Do the cam, spec it for your goals, and spec it for what you're doing.
Right. Exactly.
You're going to get better gains.
Yeah.
So.
So that I'm in agreement with that 100%. Just spec it accordingly. So could you? This is one of those. Yeah, I guess. Is it going to get an improvement? Maybe a little bit. Like we said, the way the profile works, it does get you to that power and flat lines a little better. Should you? I don't think that's the way to go, right? I do really think that you're better off just doing a proper cam based on your power goals and everything you're trying to achieve with that specific vehicle. So,
Speaking of, what is our general turnaround on our level 3 package, the cam swap, custom cam installed and tuned, 392?
Pending weather, because we do the street tuning for it, between the workload we have, we usually ask for 2 to 3 weeks on it. So it's just, we do as much street tuning, if not more of that, than we do the actual wide open throttle portion. So give us, roughly that 2 to 3 weeks to get it dialed in for you. So sometimes sooner if weather pending, but like right now it's horrible on us. When it's sub-zero and snowing out, I'm not taking the car on the street, so I'm limited to one vehicle at a time being on the dyno for tuning versus where I can tune multiple at any given time. So weather varying and workload and such, yeah, 2 to 3 weeks would be it.
Absolutely. Speaking of having a shop do work, could you, should you have a shop do exactly what you want to a T, or should you listen to their advice somewhat and possibly modify your goals, plans for what it is? I'm going to answer it's the second one. You could do the first, but you could also be wasting a whole bunch of money that gets you 0 gains. The shop knows what gets gains. An honest shop will tell you, hey, this is a waste of money. You're not going to see any gains. XYZ is why. This will get you gains.
Yeah, so it's a battle, right? And it's one of those, we kind of talked about it before, about like going to the internet for advice, right? It really comes down to building that relationship. It's very crucial, and it's one of those, I will tell you, just from our experience, body space just my recommendation is always listen to the shop, right? I understand what people say on the internet. I understand what what people may recommend or what they do once or twice, but it really comes down to set that goal and then work backwards from it, both short and long term, right? We always talk about what you want now versus long term because we like to make steps to help you benefit what you're going to be doing long term. I get it, they say to install this part to get this gain and that and the other. We're joking about it like, I get it all the time. Hey, my car is stock. I bought this big throttle body, a throttle body spacer, a pedal commander. They all these things serve their purpose, guys, but that's where we ask, are you going, an intake, right? We love intakes. So I'm really going to dive into, with my customers. Are you truly going for performance, like optimum performance? Is that what you want? Or do you want a little bit of sound improvement? Or, and figure out what their goals are, right? Because there's a lot of upgrades and modifications that you can do that actually don't improve performance and can have a negative impact on it. This comes from dyno experience, track results, a lot of data logging and tuning on my vehicles and my customer vehicles, right? I mean, I have tens of thousands of data logs from several combinations all over the place. So, and it is one of those things, guys. Think about it from like my perspective. You're going to have different kinds of shops out there. There's going to be the shops that have your best interest in mind, and they're going to get you set up for your goal now and in the future. There's other shops that sell a product, and they want you only to buy that product because they sell the product. We sell products for hundreds of vendors, if not thousands of vendors, and ones we believe in, right? So, we come together with these vendors to figure out what combinations work. So, it might have worked for one guy, it might not work for what you're trying to do right now, right? So, is there a place for a larger throttle body and a ported intake manifold and an open air filter element? Absolutely, but is it when you're bone stock? No. And is it going to benefit you now? No. Is it going to benefit you after you throw a base cam in it? Probably not. So again, it's just making sure working. The amount of times I see guys that, I'm planning on, throwing a blower on this thing in 3 years, and then it never happens. So they buy stuff that might help with that, right? I get it. We try to work backwards, right? Or, I'm going to get a cam, so I'm going to use the throttle body and the ported intake, and then they sell the car beforehand. Find the shop. Get your goals, short and long term, and then build that roadmap with them. And we say roadmap, we say we have the recipe. We have seen and done it all, except for, when other shops do weird things or, cars come in condition we've never expected before or, it's just, we don't get a full assessment of vehicle before it comes in. So there might be variables in there, everybody. Keep that in mind. But, really it comes down to your goals and then finding the shop and listen to them. We always speak on this. Buying parts through the shop you're going to be doing the tuning or the installations through or the combination, it benefits them greatly from the relationship to the support they get from the vendors, building the community. It also, from a business standpoint, it puts money into the business's account as well, so it allows them to be lenient and help you out in other areas if needed, right? So it's just overall support for the business you're going to work with. We tell our customers it's not the start of a relationship, or it's not the end or the finish when they come and pick their car up. It's the start of a relationship, right? Because we know this hobby is addicting, and the goal is to have it ongoing. So truly stick to, getting your goals in place and then finding a shop that has the experience to achieve those goals. That's going to go way further than the randoms on the internet, okay? So.
Could you, should you buy Billet Evolution Hellcat valve covers so you don't hit your life-changing spark plugs on your Hellcat? Yes. Unless you like pain, which some people I guess is a thing, but yeah, you should get them.
Oh, that's what Jeff asked, yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. The valve covers do make it a little bit easier, just a little bit. They look pretty too, and they have crankcase ventilation built into it. And next week we'll be making the official post from them because they finalized full test fitment. We're going to have the 5764 manifolds. We showed them in here a couple weeks ago. So those will be available for purchase, at $500 in raw finish. And like I said, it comes with the caps. It'll fit on a 5764 with the spark, the coils facing the right direction. So, it's.
You got anything else?
They also have better access to for issues for warranty.
Oh, when we get parts for warranty
I'll read up the lists.
Yeah. Where's the dog?
Oh.
You want to see?
You want to? Oh.
Oh,
We
this
have
is
the
a different
OG.
dog. Yeah.
There she is.
Look, he's so
Everybody,
little.
this is Zoe here. I'll take her.
There you go.
This is Zoe. She's the OG. She's 9 years old. So you guys see the big dogs. She's the OG right here. So she's in charge. She runs the roost. So this is Zoe. So I'm gonna do a could you should you could you compound boost or not, right? So it's kind of funny. We see people post up all the time about like, oh, throwing turbos at a blower it doesn't make sense. Okay, so as you saw, we're gutting a blower out there, and then I have a compound boosted car here. We also have another one with a gutted blower. We have two others that are pure turbo. So compound boost, where does it fall into play? Why should you compound boost your car? Do you like the immediate torque out of a blower? What? Here for Logan's job. She'll run the camera going forward, huh? So, do you like the immediate hit and torque of a PD blower like the Hellcat has when you get it stock? Yeah. But would you like the ability to make more power? There you go. That's what compound boost does. Would you like the ability to change your boost level from the driver's seat? There you go. That's what compound boost does. It gives you the goods of all of it, and it gives you the bads of all of it, okay? So it gives you the good of flexibility. It gives you more efficient boost, right? You're not spinning the supercharger faster, so it's actually more reliable, less parasitic loss, so the increases are still more beneficial, okay? You also get the downsides, where you still have the parasitic loss from the supercharger. They don't become a restriction like most people think until we said last week about 1250 to 1300 RPM, okay? So that's where they're not truly a restriction. The blower and everything still is capable of flowing that much air, and it's just the parasitic loss that the supercharger and the rotors provide. So that white Jeep that I was under that we were doing the diagnostic on and gutting the blower, we actually have another white one in the parking lot that was originally compound boosted, and by removing these, we literally put a gutted blower on. That's all we did and change. It made 120 horsepower more at the same boost level, okay? So it makes it so it's easier on your engine, so you lose that parasitic loss. Now, what's the downside of going just turbo? Lag. You lose that immediate kick. You lose that immediate. Now, if you spec a turbo system correctly, it's very smooth, and it's very not noticeable per se. Pretty much everybody except one customer, because again, that different situation. We put two larger turbos because it was a guaranteed it's going compound boosted. It ended up he changed his mind and wanted to gut the blower. So when we spec the turbos for a compound boost setup, they were a little too large. It's okay. We're fixing that with the billet block going forward. Right?
Yeah.
So the turbos he has now are great for the future goal, but again, coming down to turbo specking, if you're going to tell me I'm going to gut my blower, I'm naturally going to select a different turbo than if you're going to have the blower in place. So we can help reduce or eliminate that. My personal TRX, my last one, was a gutted blower setup, and my first one was a compound boosted setup, and my Red Eye was compound boosted, and my Charger was straight turbo. So I've had both. I understand the benefits of both. There's a place for both. The truth is, street car, right? Red light warrior, occasional track setup, and tapping on the door 4 digits just at the beginning. Compound boosted is great. If you truly have long-term goals of really dipping over 12 to 1250, 1300 wheel, that's when we start talking about the transition, just from what we've learned, what we've seen, and from a true performance standpoint. I don't want to have to pump 45 pounds of boost through my gutted blower to achieve 1500 wheel, you know what I'm saying? And that's kind of what it comes down to because of the limited intercooler system that's in place from a gutted blower. So, and compound, the fact that the rotors are there too. So it doesn't matter at that point. 1250 is really where we start to talk and say, hey, get rid of the factory supercharger, whether it's gutted or not. You really want to try to get into a proper billet intake manifold by billet evolution. See what I did there? You piggyback before. I just did that for the valve cover.
Nice.
That was good. So, yeah. So two more. Oh, you got more. Absolutely.
What dog has the best 60 foot out of your dogs?
Ooh, Rome. I would say Rome has the best 60. Are we gonna have to do this draggy when they're here next?
Yeah. I want everyone. If you guys have a dog and a draggy, put the draggy on your dog. Submit a 60 foot to the Satera tuning Facebook group. and then I don't know. I'll figure something out. We'll do a giveaway.
Yeah.
I'll fund all of it, whatever. But
Yeah.
who cares?
Zoe's small, so she doesn't have the horsepower.
Yeah.
You know, she's got good torque on the immediate, but doesn't have the horsepower on the big end, so she falls off quick. So I don't know about that 60-foot. She has tight cornering though. Very agile.
She's like a Miata.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Don't call my dog Miata. Don't do that. Don't give me that, bro. Come on. No, she's better than a Miata. But yeah,
She's like Papa.
Rome. Have they seen Rome? I don't think they've seen Rome in a while.
Have you guys seen the black
I
I don't
Pinto?
think they've seen him in a bit. Yeah. Who likes the most horsepower? Rome is my other purebred German. We'll bring him on probably next week. I'll bring him Friday. He just is set up for that launch. He gets it. I mean, he is fast. Remy's just goofy and big and clumsy, so he doesn't have any type of 60-foot.
He's a roll racer.
He's not a roll racer either.
No.
He is lumpy. I mean, he's like.
He's a car show
I can't
guy.
even say a stock RHO because they launch. I mean, he's like, he's
like a
Remy.
Mustang.
Yeah, he's like a Mustang.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a good one. He's like a Mustang. So, yeah, they got
Always
nothing down low,
spinning out.
nothing up top. Right. Yeah. So, I would say Rome will give us our best chances of 0-60. So,
Guys, listen. If we can get like a 1.9 60-foot out of one of your dogs, you know, we're gonna take over the Draggy group.
yeah, absolutely.
Should you use this for mechanical work if you already have a tuner you want to stick with? Like, perchance, the blue car out there, is this like a one-time only deal where we're just making a special favor, or are our doors open?
Yeah, great question. We, so for those that missed it, we kind of covered briefly what happened to that blue red eye that we posted the video of to advertise this. We'll post another video next week for it, which purely is just to state what it has. For those that missed it, I didn't tune it. I literally was going back and forth with Zedong. We got the thing dialed in on the dyno. Going to do a little street tuning for it here next week as long as weather allows. No, it's not a one-time thing. We are an all-service facility, so if you have your tuner, that's fine, guys. I don't care. We're here to help out, right? So, Zedong's amazing at what he does. Nobody can say otherwise. He knocked it out of the park. I'm comfortable with him. We talk all the time, so it's not a one-off thing. If you got somebody else but still want help with the mechanical side because we're local or whatever the case may be, we're still here to help, guys. That's what we do is we help. So, absolutely. It's not an issue at all. So, not a one-timer.
I'm out.
You're out?
Yep, we're out. That's it.
Today. All right, guys. So, we're going to head out. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll be back next week. All right, say bye to Zoe.
Bye.